good to go.
All right.
Thank you for coming in.
Yeah, thanks for
and
having me.
thanks for wearing our uniform.
That's
for
awesome.
The podcast.
I didn't realize Tuesdays had a dress code, but
Yes.
I'm in it.
Light blue, checkered. Yeah.
Yeah, it was the only shirt I was unwilling to wrinkle.
Yeah.
That I was willing to wrinkle before NBAA in Vegas. So,
well, cool. Well, thank you for looking so good, for coming on the podcast.
You as well. You as well, my friend.
Well, it's good to see you.
Yes.
It's been a little bit. But yeah, great to see you and glad to hear everything's going well. We had worked together. I don't know how many years ago was that?
7-8 years ago.
Yeah. So it's been a minute.
Yeah.
So
much growing up.
Yeah. Lots changed since then. We were just talking about some of the differences in, how we've both progressed and how life's changed and all the good stuff. So, but yeah, let's get started with, maybe, how you got into this industry.
Yeah.
And let's take it from there. And then we're going to talk about some business development stuff, some sales stuff, and then kind of get into, what you're doing today.
Yeah, definitely. Man, aviation kind of found me,
Yeah.
I'm not an A&P. I'm not a pilot. I didn't have any intentions to do any of those things. I was going to school. I was interested in computer-aided drafting. I was interested in 3D printing and design.
Yeah.
I thought that's the new wave, and I still strongly believe that is the new wave of like what's going to be happening here in the near future for us.
Yeah.
But my wife called me up. We'd been married for about 7 or 8 months. She tells me that she's pregnant. I need to find something that's going to start bringing us in a solid income on a monthly basis. So I went on Craigslist, because that's how long ago this was. That Craigslist was a reliable source for employment, right? And it said bilingual, customer service, and that was pretty much it. It was one of those very cryptic, and I was like, you know what, $18 an hour.
Yeah,
that's going to be my place. I call up. It's a place called Air Station Aviation, owned by a gentleman named Jeff Hinton, who's a person that I still talk to this day. He gave me a job as an inside salesperson.
Yep.
Taught me the difference between an as-removed part, a serviceable part, an overhauled part. I learned what it was like to send stuff out for repair, bring it back, get exchanges, deposits, all that stuff. I was immediately hooked on aviation. I would work 10-hour days. I would come home, be with my wife and baby for a little bit, and just be right back to the office, because I was just so hooked on the network and the community and really the aspect of how much money I was generating at that young age.
Yeah, sure.
Know?
And how old were you when this happened?
So I'm 25 years old, 26 years old, and I just finished my arena football. So I was playing arena football before that. So I was like, arena football's over. I'm gonna go play. I'm gonna go to school now. Oh my God, school's over. Now I'm working for this guy, and he was great. We dealt mostly with commercial parts and shipping stuff all over the world, which was great. And the world at that point really started getting smaller for me. I started realizing after a few conferences and stuff like that I really liked more the corporate side. So I started trying to focus on that.
Yeah.
And that led me to a company in Naples, Florida, called London Aviation.
Yep.
London Aviation was a flight school, helicopter photography, hangars, offices. They had a parts room. They had everything. So at that point, now I'm exposed to way more of the industry. My network grows way bigger. Over the next 2.5, 3 years that I work for them, I'm learning every aspect of it. I'm seeing profits and losses. I'm seeing all the things that are making money, how it's not making money. And I start realizing that the management aspect of this, the maintenance aspect of aviation, is really where I have most of my interest.
Sure.
So I start reaching out to other opportunities, and I think that's when I get to Flightdocs.
Yeah. Sure.
I meet you, I meet Rhiannon, I meet your dad, all of which have been a super great impact in my life. I really appreciate that. Thank you so
of course.
much. Rick, if you're hearing this, was good. Thank you. I appreciate all those headbutts that you gave me. man, I was there with you guys. It was the first time I was selling something that wasn't tangible.
Right.
Right? It wasn't a part. It wasn't a thing. It was more of like a program and a concept. And at that point, we were growing, you know?
Yeah, sure.
So I remember going through a lot of struggles there at at Flightdocs, but I really enjoyed the environment. I really enjoyed the energy. And then that kind of helped me start growing my principles and my values of what am I willing to tolerate? What do I want out of my aviation life? Which now I'm like, there's no going back to school now. It's just how am I going to get this aviation thing going and off the ground? So I go with you guys. I think I was there for maybe a half a year. I think maybe even less than that.
I don't know.
Well, nevertheless, after that, I go over and I start selling maintenance. And that's really when my network starts blowing up. I start meeting all these DOMs, charter companies, people that are in the FAA, people are in the DGAC in Mexico, government agents, things like that. And that's when I start really becoming associated with the NBAA and growing my network even further. So I'm with PrivateSky, which is another local company. I'm starting to feel like I'm outgrowing this area, but I want to hold on to Southwest Florida as best as I can. PrivateSky is a great company owned by a local family, the Willinens. They gave me an opportunity to jump into the Gulfstream market, and the people that I had working with me there are the people that I ended up having working with me at the last job at Stevens. Those guys that were at PrivateSky were the people that taught me everything I needed to know. They would make me come in early in the morning, get on the floor with the guys, ask questions, learn, do stuff, turn things on, turn them off, see how things are taken apart, see how they're put together. This is that. This is how you look an IPC up and try to find out what part this is, that you're looking for. At that point, I'm starting to really round myself out, and I could understand the concept of the timing of the maintenance and the amount of work that's put in and the amount of time that's allotted for the plane to be down. And when the aircraft's down, that's money out of the customer's pocket, So I'm starting to understand all these headaches and all these little things.
Yeah.
After PrivateSky, what I do is I go and I work for another smaller company. They're called Business Aerotech. They're out of Allentown, Pennsylvania, owned by the Ionata family. Great guy. Small company, 4 or 5 people working there. The parts company's been handed down to 2 generations now. And that's what I was pretty much doing. And I was running around, but they did not have the vision that I had. I saw myself as everybody's getting older. I could jump in here. I could start building this out, growing it, modernizing it. They were still invoicing people by printing it out, folding it into an envelope, putting a stamp on it, writing the name, and sending it out to people. People would just invoice me the email through email, So I wanted to change all that. They were unwilling to change all that. And then I was like, all right, boom, there goes another value. If you're unwilling to change and you don't want me to make the changes, this not. So then I did the Stevens thing. That ended here in May. And right after that, I realized I sat down and talked to my wife. I was like, I have seen this from so many angles now.
Yeah.
I have seen this from, start to finish. I've been in small companies. I've been in big companies. I've been in people around for 70 years. I've been people around for 2 years, and the headaches that people have, they start to be similar. So that's when I realized, all right, what I want to do is I want to solve people's headaches. How do I do that? And my wife was like, you need to start your own company. You need to start helping people through consulting.
Yeah.
Consulting is such a broad term. Somebody explained it to me. Consulting is what you tell people you do when you can't describe what you do in less than 10 seconds. So if you're doing something that's more complicated than explaining in 10 seconds, you're a consultant. Yeah. So that's what I'm doing now. MAG Aviation Group started in May. We've already had 3 contracts signed. The first company that we worked with was PJ Kev and Approved Jets. Mm-hmm. This was a single charter broker, okay? So this guy was grinding, making great money, 6 figures a year by himself, giving his friend Diamond Santos, who she was running pretty much all the back office, a portion of that, and they were doing great. They're on the internet, they're on Instagram, they have a good following, they're doing great for themselves.
Sure.
But if you went into their RFQ inbox, you would see 180 unanswered RFQs. Mm-hmm. So they definitely needed help with the business process and streamlining.
Sure.
So that's where I'm at now. I helped them with the whole back office. I helped them with streamlining their sales process. We got more people on board with them.
Yeah.
Now we're about to sign a new contract with Seal Aviation. This is a company out of Fort Lauderdale that's been doing NDT work, and they've been doing structural repairs. And now we're going to start developing out some other sides of their business, including parts and fuel cell repairs.
Okay.
And that's, I mean,
Cool.
9 years, it seems like a blink of an eye.
Yeah.
But when I sat down just now and I explained it to you, I was like, I cannot believe that was just like my aviation career.
You've done a lot of different stuff.
It is wild to think so. And I felt like when I started aviation, I was like an empty jar, you know, but now because of all these people with amazing experience, like I worked with guys that worked for Grumman when they was on Long Island, you know, and so these guys know these planes in and out, and I was able to learn from them, you know.
Sure.
Which is huge.
No, it's awesome. And one of the things that, you know, as you were working with us, and then I really saw it, I think, after you left Flightdocs and you were back in, you know, selling maintenance and services and things like that. First is like your energy and like passion for what you're doing that I always loved. And I think the rest of the people in the industry can see that. But I think very quickly you were able to come out and build a network of people that that you trust and that they trusted you, right? And I think that you're really trying to leverage that in this new pursuit with your new company. So, like, tell me, like, how does that play out with just networking with people and always having someone that you could call to help you out with what you're doing?
Yeah, I mean, that's my benefit. That's how I tell people. That's what I sell them on, is the fact that you could spend a week making phone calls.
Yeah.
I can spend 2 hours making phone calls and get to the same result.
Yeah.
And the reason I do that is I leverage that network. I grew my network from nothing but just off a genuine basis. You know, I wasn't trying. The reason that me and you stayed friends after I worked off was not for the benefit of what you were going to bring to me in the future, right? I liked you as a person. I wanted to see you succeed outside of that, because the people around me, if they succeed, I succeed. So my network helps me every single day. I have people on the phone that have 38 years experience of being DOMs for certain aircraft. I have brokers that sell hundreds of aircraft on a daily, not on a daily basis, but on a yearly basis. You know, these guys are a wealth of knowledge that I wouldn't be able to retain. My brain's not going to be able to retain all those things. So I count on other people to retain that information for me, and as like a hard drive.
Right.
I just go to it when I need it, and I'm like, boom, this file.
And you're like you had said, like, you're not an expert in any one of these areas. You're not an A&P. You're not a pilot. You know, you're not a developer, but
I connect the dots.
You've learned a lot of these different things. You know who's good at it, who's not, and you've been able to connect those dots.
And the thing is that people, human beings, right, want to have relationships. It's difficult to have relationships. It takes effort. You constantly have to work at nurturing your network, right? I know on a quarterly basis, on an every 3-month basis, I am going through my phone every 90 days close. I'm going through my phone, and I'm at least texting everybody that's in there. The reason why I do that, whether they text back or not, the reason why I'm doing that is so that when I make that phone call, I know that I'm not going to a person that I'm just reaching out for that thing. Right. Like, I currently want to know what you're like. I want to know what your interests are. I want to know who your family is. I want to know, like we were talking earlier, how much our hobbies have changed over the past years that we've known each other, right?
Sure.
All those things.
Yeah.
So nurturing that relationship, I like to call it's nepotism, but in a positive way, right? You want people to want you to succeed.
Sure.
Right? Despite anything. And the only reason why is because you're a good person and you want them to succeed, and you're all succeeding together. And that's how you do it. That's how you continue to grow. And when you see an opportunity for a friend or for a person that you've been networking with for a long time, and you feel like they're a fit for it, having the courage to reach out to them and be like, hey, I don't know what you're doing, but I found out about this and I feel like this is something that you should definitely consider. Or knowing the fact that something comes to your table, like the other day I had some engines off of G4 come my way. how are you going to get rid of a set of engines for a G4? You know what I mean? Well, you got to start knowing people that want these engines and things like that. So
Sure.
between DAS and BizJet and all these other people, I had a bidding war going for them. We sold them for more than we expected to sell them for, you know? Something that could have taken that broker, that aircraft broker, many months to do, right? And time is money, right?
Sure.
We try to do in larger time, but you got to be able to have a network to be able to do that. You have to work that network to do that. It has to be. You have to take such a genuine approach to it, and it takes time. My wife goes, I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you wake up in the morning. I know, like, it's like, boom, 9:45. I can start making phone calls here in a little bit, and I start every day with a few just social calls to some friends. Hey, how you doing? Kind of like warm up my mind to like, all right, now I got to start like, and like as my day progresses, I go with like colder and colder and colder calls, because by the time 3 o'clock in the afternoon rolls around, I've already had 17 calls under my belt, and I'm like, all right, I got my play down. I'm ready to go. This is my cold call. I'm going to warm this guy up. I'm going to build myself. I'm going to endear myself to him. You know what I mean? I'm going to find out what he wants, what he needs, or what she needs, and then work my way from there. Everybody's got a problem, and everybody's looking for somebody to solve their problem. So that's pretty much what I'm doing.
Do you think that everybody knows what their problems are, or is that part of what you're trying to accomplish? Because what I found is that there's a lot of companies in the space that are doing pretty well. Like, they've been around for a long time. The business is continuing to either, remain profitable, or maybe they're growing a little bit each year, but not every company knows exactly what they need to take things to the next level. Yeah. So how do you go about uncovering some of that?
You have to spend time with them. Yeah. Sometimes they'll have a concept of what the problem is. They might not pinpoint it down. Some people, emotional maturity plays a lot into it, and their own pride in whatever they're doing. That has a lot. If you don't have that, you're going to be unwilling to change no matter what. Yeah. But after you spend some time with some people, after you review their numbers, definitely, and just the hard stuff first, and then people on an individual basis, sometimes it's just putting the people in the right spots. Sometimes you have an introvert in an extrovert position, an extrovert in an introvert position. Sometimes you just need to do those little shuffles. Sometimes you need to apply technology like we did with Asana to the approved jets team. Yeah. Sometimes you just need something to just keep everything organized. But no, most people do not know what their actual problem is, to answer your question. Most times you have to go in there, you have to analyze it, you have to be super hypercritical of what they're doing. And truth bombs. Sometimes I sit there and I talk to people and I'm just like, oh, they do not like what I'm saying. But I leave there feeling good. Yeah. Because I know that the time that they paid me to be there with them, and the time I'm giving them real things. I'm telling them what the problems are, what they should be doing, because I want to see them succeed, because they're going to be something for me in the future to be able to count myself again. So yeah, people don't know. Some people do know, or they're focusing also. A lot of people focus on the wrong thing, Greg,
Well, I think too, like for a lot of them, it's sometimes it's just a kind of a time and a focus type thing where, like the example that you gave, like they're doing well. They're kind of, they're running at 100 miles an hour, and it becomes tough to then say like, hey, let's take some time to focus on like what's going on behind the scenes, right? And so it can be tough for like a founder or an executive to say like, hey, we need to shift gears and focus on some of these things. Yeah. And I think that's, maybe in this first contract that you're talking about, that's what you were able to do.
Yes.
Come in and say, okay, you guys are doing really great things like on the outside and on the front end.
Yes.
But, to walk me through how you kind of like got in there and started mapping out what needed to be done to solidify that base.
I went in and spent time with each one of them individually. Yeah. Diamond was running 16-hour days. This girl could not have a social life. She could barely have a dog and keep it alive. It was insane. And I was just trying to figure out, okay, how can I streamline her process? First thing I was like, how can I make this person's life easier? Because this is the backbone of the company, Once we started realizing that, then I was like, all right, what we need here is we need help. We need manpower. We need actual people pushing buttons and doing things. But They also were young, so they don't really have a lot of finances to do so. So hiring manpower right away was not going to be the right way to do it. We needed to be able to streamline the work that they were having through. So they're running 1,000 miles an hour. They cannot see all the problems that are going through. They are just have blinders on. Let's focus on getting in what we can get in. Bringing me on board allowed me to look past those blinders, see those things. Started applying Asana, started using programs like Google Forms. These are like really inexpensive things.
Right, basic. Yeah.
Super basic. But once they applied it to the project that they were working on, it gave them incredible results because they were able to funnel work in, have a sales flow, which didn't happen before. It was more what they were doing. They were just like flinging stuff, and they were like, boom, this hit great.
See what sticks.
Right. And then at the same token, because they were doing all those things, the margins that they were working with were very small because it was all super rushed. Nobody was actually focusing on that. So that was another thing I focused on. I was like, all right, we need to stretch these margins out.
Right.
So the amount of crazy work that you are doing is worth your time. It's difficult. It's difficult for people once they're doing it to realize what they're doing wrong, right? You don't realize that you're a bad dog parent until you have a spoiled dog and nobody likes them. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that that's me, but nevertheless, it's just you don't know it. So like bringing somebody in with a fresh perspective, I have, like I said, my network to keep me in line. I have people that'll tell me, Miguel, next time, maybe do this or do that.
Sure.
Feedback is so important. Constructive criticism, being able to take that constructive criticism, apply it, being a coachable person.
Yeah.
This is something that I get paid to apply now to people's lives, something that they should be able to do on their own. But like you said, when you're going 100 miles an hour and those blinders are on, it's very, very, very difficult. Now that company Approved Jet's doing much better. They have to be doing at least 20% more than they were doing before. Their workflow, the amount of charters that they're selling per month are up crazy. Diamond now has a chance to go on first vacation she's taken in 3 years. They have salespeople now out on the floor independently going out there trying to find new revenue sources that they have. They're getting big contracts with film companies and stuff like that. So I'm very proud of what I've done for them. We've done a podcast as well about diversity with the NBAA with those people as well. So wonderful, wonderful. Somebody that I can have as a reference. And now this new project that I'm coming on with is that we're going to be taking a local company here in Fort Lauderdale called Seal Aviation. They've been around for about 20 years. They have 40 employees. Again, blinders are on, right? So like they have these 40 guys flying all over the world doing all kinds of repairs and stuff like that. It's difficult to have the focus to be like, all right, now I want to grow my company, or I want to take this particular division, make it more profitable so that things like are a little bit more aligned. So that's what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go into this one, kind of absorb the problems that they're having and see if I could apply my network and, pretty much my collective knowledge to what they have going on.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, it's exciting.
So exciting.
Yeah. How does it, so I guess two-part question for you.
Try to answer them.
Yeah. So, first is, we were just talking before about how things are going, just more in life, not necessarily business, right? And you're happy with where things are at today. Maybe not satisfied, but you're happy with the direction that things are
of
going.
My life,
of your life,
on a personal level.
On a personal level.
I love my life on a personal level. I couldn't ask for much more than what I have going on, honestly.
Yeah. And so how has, from the time I met you and maybe rewinding even a few years before, a lot has changed for you.
Yes.
And we were talking about kind of that constant, I guess, progression for people. How do you describe kind of that journey from like when you were a kid to where you're at today?
Oh man. So I'm going to be 40 next month, November 6th. So 40 years, and you think about it and all the crazy things that have gone on in one person's life, right? And all their collective experiences. More than my personal experiences, the things that have changed me the most is seeing other people's experiences.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not raising my children the same way I was raised. I'm adding to what I already knew as a family. Like, great example, but I worked for people that worked in families, and I was able to absorb the knowledge that they passed on to their children so I could pass on to my children.
Mm-hmm.
And that was huge in my growth, realizing that there's more knowledge out there than what I have, and I need to collect as much of it as I possibly can from all these people to have that collective knowledge. So the hunger for knowledge and the hunger for self-growth and emotional maturity is huge for me. That is the number one thing in my life for myself that I want, you know. As far as like my family and my life, the difference is that I was traveling 131, 140 nights a year.
Yeah.
As a salesperson. That is not something I want to do anymore. You know, I love my family. I love my home. I love the town that I live in. This place that we live in is great.
Yeah.
Shh, don't tell anybody.
I think the word's out.
Yeah, I know. I know. I don't want to talk about that, but I want life experiences. I want to make sure I don't care so much about things anymore. You know, I don't care about having that flashy car or the flashy watch or whatever the case may be. I care more of getting my daughters to Argentina in February for the entire month, you know, and being down there so that they can experience my culture and my family can see where I was brought up and things like that. That's what's important to me now. Making sure that I can stay here in Southwest Florida. This is my home now.
Sure.
I'm a transplant. We're both from the same part of the world, right? We're both you're from Long Island.
Yeah.
I'm from Jersey City.
Yeah.
It's 8 mile difference probably from like where we're from, and we both live in this part of the world now. I want to try to do everything I can to stay here. Also, like the principles and the values that I've developed, right? So it's something that I feel is lost in the first 20 years of your life. And then it's not until you start really being under people and understanding people's different management styles and the way people work and the way people live their own personal lives, right?
Yeah.
So it's not even so much about work, but on their own personal levels, there's some people that are willing to be helped. There's some people that aren't willing to be helped, you know? So just understanding that, understanding who's worth putting my time into, who's not worth putting my time into, who I should stay business friends with, who I should stay personal friends with, you know?
Right.
Those are the things that have changed the most in my life. The understanding of the world, the understanding of how people work, I guess, a little bit better. Like, I try to study people. I try to understand where their minds go and what their problems are and how they're thinking about it. You know, I try to solve some of their problems in my own head. Yeah. You know, like maybe just an attempt of them maybe to ask advice, I guess. I just want to be there for people. I want people to succeed. You know, I want the people around me to succeed, right? I want all my friends close to me to just live out their dreams, whatever that dream is. And if I can help them by a connection or putting them down a path that they maybe didn't know existed, like that's it. That's it for me. My grandpa used to tell me, he was a sales guy as well, and he used to say, it's like, it doesn't matter what it says on your shirt, right? What you want is people to be excited about seeing you as a person, right? And that's what I want. I want anytime somebody talks about me, I want somebody to be like, you know, have like that smile on their face, like, oh, that's a good person. Like, you know, he helped me do this or he helped me do that. And now I guess I'm just trying to monetize that, right? I'm just trying to monetize connecting the dots for people because I have so many dots to be able to connect them to.
Yeah, and like I said, I think you've done a great job in kind of building that reputation, and you could see with the approach that you've taken is that you've talked to so many different people and you've helped so many different, you know, from operators to vendors to brokers to owners to like everybody. And I think that having that very open-minded approach to whatever you're doing has helped you grow as a person and in your family and life and everything.
Thanks. I appreciate that.
Yeah. And you're always one of the people where, you know, even after we stopped working together, you know, seeing you at NBAA,
always make it a point to go by the booth, say hi to you guys. You know what I'm saying? And
go to the ice bar.
Yes.
We won't talk about that.
You know, we're young. We're learning. You know, we were learning. And now we know. Yeah. We have to have fun. You have to have fun. Aviation's a very high stress industry, you know. Listen, you have to take a genuine approach to this industry that we work in, aviation, especially business aviation, right? So small.
Yeah.
So small. You can make or break your name with just 2 or 3 people not liking you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, same. If 2 or 3 people do like you, you do
Yeah.
pretty well for yourself. So, and now it's more, how do I develop this out? How can I continue to be the most genuine version of myself?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And be able to continue this path of connecting people. So now I'm working with like the diversity and equality, and going to, you know, the FAA has all kinds of grants and programs for these people, for kids to go into these schools that don't really have an idea of what they're going to do. I mean,
Sure.
I know 20-year-old Miguel had absolutely no idea what he was going to do. He was going to play football for the rest of his life, and then he was going to retire early, and that was going to be the whole thing. But obviously that's just not the way life is, you know, and there was no real reality to that. But now that I do know that I have this great network, I have a great industry. There's not many of us, you know, me and you are pretty much 20 years younger than anybody doing what we do.
Yeah, sure.
In this industry.
Yeah.
You know, so there's a future here. We're staying connected. We're being a part of it. I'm going to these schools. I'm telling these kids, like, work on private jets. Have a great job. Don't be a mechanic. Be a private jet mechanic. You know what I mean? Like, work on a $10,000 car. Work on a $2 million plane. You know what I mean? Those are both pretty much the same level.
Yeah.
Area, you know what I mean? In our industries.
Yeah.
And you could have benefits, and you could do all these things. There's, for pilots, you know, there's all these great opportunities for pilots. So now, part of my fulfilling my values and trying to stay true to myself is going out there. And I've been able to start working now that the COVID is starting to, like, hopefully we can kind of get back to like a regular thing.
Sure.
I want to start going back into these schools, and I want to start doing these, you know, presentations again, where I'm talking to them and I'm giving them these opportunities, and hopefully I can help other people along the way. You know, I won in 2019. The NBAA gave me top 40 under 40, and I was like one of the very few salespeople to like have gotten it.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked Ed Bolin one night, I was like, you know, like, I'm one of the few. He goes, but you had the most people apply for you. He goes, more than we've ever had, you know, asked for you to be this. Cool. So he goes, so you won pretty much out of like the amount of people that got in. And I was like, all right, can I get a list of those people? And they were super reluctant to give it to me, but I got a hold of the names, and I personally thanked all those people, because what they did for me in giving me that opportunity to be one of the few sales guys opened up so many doors for me to allow me to do what I'm doing now. Sure. Right? Because the NBAA recognized me as a person that knew more people. So that allowed me to meet even more people, you know? Yeah. And staying connected to all that is huge. It's just, that's the whole thing. The whole thing is just talk to them, even if it's just to say, you know, hey, how's it going? You know, I shocked my old boss, Phil Stern from Stevens. A week after, you know, we parted ways, I call him. I'm like, hey, how's it going? Monday morning. It's like, hey, is everything okay? And I'm like, yeah, everything's fine. I was like, you are now, you know, part of the little syndicate. You know what I mean? I'm going to call you now on like a bi-monthly basis and just see how your world's doing. You know, the guy's a super interesting guy. He's a drummer in a Paul McCartney cover band that travels around the United States. You know what I mean? Like, outside of aviation, this is a guy I want to have in my life, you know? And that's pretty much how I'm doing it. Believe me, there's plenty of people in aviation that I met that didn't get afforded that, you know what I mean, phone call. So I told him, I was like, you know, if this is cool with you, I'm going to stay in contact, you know? And he goes, but why? And I'm like, because it's a small industry, and we never know how we're going to help each other out, or how we're going to, where we're going to end up, you know? Look at us. Yeah. Many years later, now we're doing a little podcast, you know, and this is fantastic. So really appreciate both of you for having me on.
Yeah, of course. No, I appreciate you coming in. It's good to see you. I'm glad to see you doing some cool stuff and helping companies in the industry. I think it's definitely needed. I think that there's so many companies out there. I'm doing something very similar, I think, in, you know, approaching, okay, how can we use technology? How can we use networking? How can we use modern marketing and social media and, you know, all these different things to help businesses.
The modernization of the business aviation industry, which is so pen and paper, it's ridiculous, you know?
Yeah, and so I think that there's a lot of opportunity out there, and I think the path that you're going down makes a lot of sense. So like from here, I know, you know, you're kind of working a few contracts right now. Where do you see it going?
That's a great question. I myself have those blinders on right now that I was talking about, how I try to take them off for other people.
Yeah.
I myself have those blinders on, you know. I am just kind of taking it one contract at a time, just trying to do the best job that I can for them.
Yeah.
Execute their vision, you know, and apply as much of my knowledge and connect them with as much of my network as possible. You know, a lot of that's that. A lot of it with approved jets and a lot of it with SEAL is going to be connecting them with the people that I already know. That's going to help them grow even further. You know, I would not want to see myself grow much more than what I have going on right now, to be 100% honest with you.
I think when we were talking before, it was just like, okay, you know, one of the benefits of the work that you've done up until this point has been, you know, getting connected with all these people, having this constant dialogue going with your network, to the point where you don't necessarily need to be out there selling your services, right? There's opportunities that are coming your way, and there's conversations that are
on a daily basis. Because I am literally putting it into the universe to do so, you know, stirring the pot of my network. And like, I think we were talking about this right before the podcast. You were saying that you yourself were been doing this a little bit, and you have no idea the opportunities that come up just through conversations.
Sure. You know, and I always looked back, and, you know, I sold a lot. Right. And you did
a good job of it too.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Incredible what you were able to accomplish in a few years.
Yeah. Thank you. But so, you know, one of the things that, looking back on like the last 10 years, I wish I did more of this just general networking,
branding
and conversations and branding and all these types of things, you know. I'd say one of the big downfalls of what I was doing. I mean, listen, we were successful. It worked and everything. But I always looked at everything through the lens of like selling. Now, I had the brand in the back of mine, right? And a lot of the deals that we won were won over a long period of time, right? Because we were selling a new technology, a new idea, new services. And so, you know, we introduced them to people, and a lot of times it took, you know, a year or two, or sometimes, you know, 5 years from that first conversation to the time that it closed. But I was constantly, you know, thinking about the sale, and I could have had a different mindset of being more about, okay, well, maybe you're not even a candidate to buy this service,
right?
But I should have a conversation about what are you doing? You know, what's your business like? What are you know, where are you looking to go in the future? Who are you working with? You know, and just being able to, like, I'm having conversations today where I'm able to gain a lot of information and give a lot of information, but there's not going to be any dollars exchanged or any sale or anything like that. But what comes of that is just super powerful.
Yeah, that's what my grandpa said. It doesn't matter what shirt you're wearing; they want to see you. And so I've always focused on Miguel Gallardo, what this brand is, what you get out of me as a person, right? So despite whatever it is that I'm trying to sell you, you know that what you're getting out of me is me,
right?
Above and beyond everything else, right? I had a veteran in this industry, a DOM, and he's in Teterboro. He goes to me, I don't usually take sales guy lunches. I'm like, well, why did you take my lunch? He goes, because another DOM friend of mine told me that I should go to lunch with you. And I was like, well, that's really nice of him. And at the end of the lunch, we were driving back to Teterboro to his thing, and he goes to me, he goes, now I know why he told me to go to lunch with you. And I was like, why? He goes, because it's lunch with a friend.
Yeah.
at the end of the lunch, while you were paying the bill and stuff like that, you got in everything you needed to say to me, you know? And then at the end of that, you were back to friend mode again. Like, here we are. What's
Right.
going on in your world? What gets you excited? What's, you know, problems that you're having? He goes, that's why you were a good lunch date. He goes, because you were perfect. And he goes, you know what? I do want to use your company and I do want to use your services because you thought about me as a person before you thought of me as a customer, you know? And he goes, and I'm going to refer you to a bunch of people.
Yeah.
And that's the whole concept of what I go for is I want to know who you are. If I like who you are, I want to work with you. I want to help you make money. I want to help you do better as a person. If I don't like you, sadly, I'm going to do not the opposite, but I'm not going to go out of my way to apply anything that I have towards you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's also a lot of examples of people that you go out of your way for because you do like them, right? And then they disappoint you many, many times in a row. And then you have to learn, despite you liking them so very much, that you have to. And that's part of like the growth process of honoring that network, right? Because like the mob, if you vouch for somebody, it's your responsibility, right?
Yeah.
You know, no matter what happens, it's your responsibility. And that, at the beginning, when I was more open to giving people that information and divulging my network and helping that out, that's something that bit me in the butt a few times. And now I know to protect it a lot more.
Well, that's funny. I was just thinking about something. And then I was also thinking about, I don't think because we went on maybe one road trip together.
Long Island. We went to the Westchester Aircraft Maintenance Manager. Yeah.
Because you had mentioned about going to Teterboro. It's been a little bit since I've been there, but we took a road trip. I think we flew into JFK maybe, and we rented a absolute tiny vehicle. I think it was
a Spark, a Nissan Spark,
and we were anybody
who's hilarious. I totally forgot.
For anybody who's driven on the roads in New York, they're absolutely atrocious. And so we're driving in this tiny, compact vehicle.
Wintertime.
And Miguel, I don't know how tall you are, but you're
6'6".
6'6".
I'm like hunched over
in the passenger seat. I'm driving. We hit a pothole, and your head drilled the roof of this car, and that was one of my good memories.
me inflicting pain on myself. I remember that. It was one of my first times going to the Northeast, representing an aviation company, and I don't know why I was like nervous about it. You know what I mean? Like I had like this nerves, but now that part of the world is one of my biggest sources of like revenue.
Well, I think that, you know, it's interesting for, you know, because we have plenty of customers in the Northeast, and I'm from Long Island originally. Right. But I think it is one of the toughest places to actually get in the door.
Yeah.
I remember.
Trust you. Somebody's got to vouch for you. Like
somebody
I said,
has to vouch for you, right? So, you know, I think maybe the mob mentality is a little bit stronger in New York and Jersey, but like in comparison, I think that, you know, in the past, like you could go and knock on the door of a hangar in North Carolina or in Georgia.
Come on in. You want some tea?
Like, or they're like, hey, just hang a left onto the tarmac and
100%.
pull in. But in the Northeast, sales is definitely, I think, it's a tougher territory to get into.
Yeah, but once you get in there, the quality of the clients that you get, the amount of trust that they give you right off the bat once you gain it is, I have not experienced that anywhere else. You know, I have one operator out of the Northeast, FL Aviation, great guy. Anywhere I've ever gone, the guy's given me an opportunity to work with him. And now as MAG, you know, he calls me up when he's in a tight spot. You know, he's like, anytime the F word comes out of my mouth, he goes, you're the first person I call, because I know that instead of me taking the time to do it, he goes, I can count on you. I know it'll get done. And, you know, I know I can move forward. So that's really like the concept. I want to try to solve people's headaches. I want to try to help my friends out, like I said before, grow everybody. That's the true value that I see in my life. You know what I mean? Like, how am I going to make as many people profitable and not profitable, happy? You know, like doing what they want to do. You know,
Sure.
I want everybody to feel like they can be like, oh, I'm going to take a month off and I'm going to go do this, because they have that flexibility to do so, because they're not. I told somebody, I think I heard it somewhere, but then I've been using it a lot lately. It's when you take a salary, right? You are getting paid to build somebody else's dream.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's resonated with me so much over the last 3 months. Like, I want to build my own dream.
Sure.
And I want all my friends to build their own dream. And I have people that are so capable, Greg, you know, like people that are AMPs that have 20 years experience, you know, that deal with things that they shouldn't have to deal with, but they're also too scared to jump off, you know what I mean, and do it for themselves.
Sure.
And I don't want to ever go back.
How did you get to that mindset where, like, you've been working for companies for the last 20 years, right? How was that process for you to make that leap?
It happened literally during the phone call where Stevens is laying me off.
Yeah.
To be 100% honest with you, they're calling me to tell me that the program's ending, the Gulfstream program's ending, and that they don't need a sales guy anymore. So I'm like, I thanked my boss.
Yeah.
I was like, Phil, thank you. I was like, you're honestly one of the best people I've ever worked for, you know? And at that, my mind's going 1,000 miles a minute at that second. And when I get off the phone with him and he's just thanking me for all my work, I mean, we're both kind of like getting emotional about it because he's a really good person. I get off the phone and I just smile. And it was the first time in my life where, like, I felt my personal value was more than my job value.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's laying me off and I'm thinking in my head, like, I'm gonna be fine. Like, I'm gonna be completely okay.
Yeah.
You know, like, I'm going to be able to do this. I have people that I can lean on as soon as I start letting people know.
Yeah.
I'm available to start working for them and start making their lives better. My life's going to change instantly. It was like I flipped the switch. Like, when I used to play football, like, I'm like a pretty chill, normal person. I step on the field, I flip the switch. It literally felt like I was stepping on the field. Like, during that phone call, as I was hanging up, I was like, boom, this is the new mode, and I am never gonna, and that's what I was telling myself, I should never, like, failure is going back to getting paid a salary from someone, you know, in my mind, you know what I mean? Because I can apply what I know. I wasn't, as a sales guy, I wasn't using all the tools that I had at my disposal. I was just using that one knife all the time, you know, and it gets boring to do that. So now I get to, like, roll out that little thing and just try out everything, every tool that I have at my disposal. And that's what brings me joy every day, the unknown fact of it, the fact that I'm building my own dream and doing my own thing.
Yeah. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for stopping by.
Yeah.
And
this is really, really cool. Your guys' setup is so professional, and I'm really happy to be a part of it.
Yeah, awesome. Anything else you'd like to tell the audience or listeners? Where can everybody find you?
Obviously LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, all that fun stuff. You can just type in my name, it'll pop up.
Yeah.
But www.magaviationgroup.com, that's our website.
Okay.
It has all our services on there and what we're capable of doing for you. And I'm available at all time. Somebody knows my telephone number for sure, or my email address, or if not, you know, Google's a great tool for all that fun stuff.
Yeah, sure.
Greg, this is awesome, man. I'm really happy that you're doing this.
Yeah, no problem
You
at
look
all.
as happy and relaxed as I've ever seen you in our experience knowing each other.
Yeah, I'd say I'm a little bit more laid back and a lot of fun stuff going on. I'm really happy to be able to.
Yeah. I feel like we're going through the same joy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? In our lives at the same time, at the same token.
It's really similar in that, you know, the last however much time, it's been like a very, you know, super focused. I mean, it was a great experience. Listen, it was a lot of fun, accomplished a lot of different things. But as I'm looking at, like, what this next chapter is, it's like, okay, there's kind of like unlimited opportunity here to work with all different people, take what I know, take the people I know, take what we've done and recreate it. And there's huge opportunity in this
branding
space.
Greg Hine is what the next phase is.
Yeah.
It's like, letting everybody know who you are as a person and what you're capable of doing for them. Because up until now, you've done a really good job of being a patron and like a steward for other people's things.
Yeah.
And I'm just super excited to see you going out there and running out there and doing your own thing. So,
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. And thanks for coming on. And we'll do it again.
Yeah, I look forward to it.
All right.
Appreciate you, man.
Sweet.